Hello, welcome to this short where we are talking signs and symptoms incompatible with life. So this is for that individual who you're pulling up on a scene and your patient has no pulse, they're not breathing, there's no pulse, they're not breathing, and there's other signs and symptoms associated with them, and you're just not sure if this patient should be resuscitated or if they are beyond help. Well, this video should bring some clarity to begin attacking at that question that you're asking yourself. I have it broken down into two categories. We have irreversible anatomical destruction and irreversible biological death. Let's start with the anatomical destruction. First one, classic, is going to be the decapitation, when the head is removed from the body. It's 2025, we can do some incredible things, but that's something that we cannot resuscitate. We just don't have that technology. That's not something that can be done. That's not an injury that can be bounced back from. Brain destruction. If I'm seeing brain matter, generally speaking, that individual has signs and symptoms incompatible with life, that being one of them. Now, I have heard a few stories of a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy of brain matter being exposed, but they did resuscitative efforts and maybe they got ROSC. If you are not sure, please resuscitate. If you're not sure with any of these, go ahead and resuscitate. I think the exact scenario was maybe brain matter, but the individual might have been taking breaths, maybe or may not. They weren't sure if they were agonal or what they were, so they just went ahead and resuscitated anyway. And that is what it is. But generally speaking, that is a sign and symptom incompatible with life. Moving down the line, incineration. So this isn't just a localized burn. This is full thickness, total body burns with charring. So that's just complete tissue destruction. Again, we can do some amazing things in this time and this age, but that's one of them that we just can't bounce back from. Last one being hemicorporectomy. That is going to be when the body is cut in half, transverse-wise. Again, we can do some cool things in this age, but that's just not one of them. That's an injury that you can't bounce back from. Let's go to the other side here. We have biological death, irreversible biological death. First sign, the classic that a lot of people think of, rigor mortis. So the stiffening and tightening of tissues and joints, so that when say you go to check a pulse, whole arm and chest cavity moves up with it. That is rigor mortis. The cellular respiration has ceased in that tissue and it is locking up, literally. Moving next, we have lividity. That is going to be when I have pooling of blood to the lowest point of gravity. So say, for example, I were to give you this individual. Say this is an individual laying supine. So I have front side of their body, back side of their body here. And they are deceased. Blood is going to pool to the very bottom point, the area where gravity is the strongest. Blood is going to pool to those areas. So, for example, if I'm laying supine and, for this purpose, imagine I'm on the ground. If I'm laying supine and I'm deceased, blood will eventually start pooling to the lowest portions of gravity, where gravity is the most strong, and that's going to be the backside of my body. So if you lift up my shirt, pull up my pants or whatever, you'll see blood along the backside of my legs, my buttocks, and my back. It no longer has a circulatory effect, so that's guiding it along a certain route. It's just going to succumb to the effects of gravity. So whatever the lowest point is, if I'm prone on the ground, it's going to be on the front side of my body. If I'm supine on the ground, it's going to be on the back side of my body. If I'm in somewhat of a fetal position, it's going to be on the lower portions of my body, my lower extremities. You're going to see that. Detectives can also use dependent lividity, I am told, to assess if individuals have been moved post-mortem. So again, that is a sign and symptom incompatible with life. Last one is going to be decomposition. So this is going to be at a global scale, not an isolated scale. We've all, maybe had a patient who had isolated gangrene or decomposition, perhaps a diabetic or something, where there's an isolated area that has a restriction of blood flow and that tissue starts to break down. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about on a global scale, almost like our incineration. We're talking global tissue, general status of the entire tissue, external tissue of the body. If that is starting to break down cohesively together, that individual, again, cellular respiration has ceased and that tissue is breaking down, and that is not something that can be recovered from and resuscitated. Now, again, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but just because I made these nice little neat boxes that fit the majority of the scenarios that you're going to see, there's going to be things that fall in those cracks. So if you're ever not sure, go ahead and resuscitate, and hopefully that brings some clarity. Thank you. Something I forgot to talk about is blood loss. So I want everyone to follow their local protocols and their standing orders. And depending on where you are, what you have available, and at your resources, at the resources at your fingertips are going to depict kind of how you resuscitate individuals potentially. That thing being blood. If you are in a service that has blood or is working with a service that has blood, this might be significant in your decision choosing to resuscitate somebody or not. Traditionally, if an individual has more or less exsanguinated, that is a sign and symptom incompatible with life in the pre-hospital scenario. But if you're in an area that has blood, maybe not. So let's talk about that. If you have a patient who has been, we'll go with a stabbing. Okay, we'll say a stabbing to the neck. Unless that vessel is repaired effectively in the pre-hospital scenario, you can give them blood, but unless that vasculature, like that tissue is repaired and fixed in some way, shape, or form, you're going to be putting blood in and it's going to go right back out. So I just want you to be cautious when you're going on runs like this. If you are able to rectify that issue, then please, like, perfect world scenario, you can rectify that bleeding, you can stop it at the source, and you can administer maybe some TXA, give some blood. Like, that sounds like a perfect world scenario. But occasionally that's not what we have. And so just because you have blood doesn't necessarily mean that you will be successful in your resuscitation in that exsanguination. So go back to your roots. Can you rectify the issue? And if you can, then great, perfect. If you're not sure, give it a shot. Go for it. Just like the whole video we've been talking. If you're not sure, resuscitate. But if you're very clearly not able to rectify that issue, that individual's deceased. Of course, follow your local standing orders and protocols. Thanks.